Have you ever thought about working with a financial advisor but felt it was too expensive? As a seasoned financial advisor, I want to talk to you about what value a financial advisor can bring to your wealth building journey. And quite frankly, many people don't even know what a financial advisor does. We're going to talk about that as well. So stay tuned on Mindset with Brad Barrett. Let's go. Welcome back into Mindset. My name is Brad Barrett. This is producer Jared. And today we're gonna be talking about the value of a financial advisor. I gotta be honest with you, I'm very excited about this episode because this is literally my business for 20 years.
This is you. This is
me.
your time to shine, Brad.
Apparently. So many of you out there aren't working with a financial advisor. And I know this because there's stats galore on this. Depending on what study you look at, between 25 and 35% of Americans are working with an advisor, which means there's a majority of the people that don't work with an advisor. And I understand this because probably now more than ever, it's easy to do it yourself.
That is a shockingly low number.
I agree.
I'm blown away by that number.
And I think if you haven't heard that before, trust me, as an advisor of 2 decades now, it still baffles me. Again, I know that's a biased statement because in what I do, I can see the value we're bringing, but most people don't. So we're gonna talk about that today. We're gonna talk about what an advisor does. You can help for yourself determine whether that's valuable to you, right? We're gonna talk about actually some specific studies and some numbers about numerically, like quantifiably, what value an advisor can bring to you. So I think that's important. We're also gonna talk about, I'm gonna lead off on this too today, of the unquantifiable items. The not seen, you know what, that makes sense, but it won't show up on paper as like in the pros column.
The intangibles.
The intangibles,
Yes.
Exactly. Do you work with an advisor?
I do, and I tell you what.
Can I ask you a question there real quickly?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because how long have you worked with them? Roughly.
Let me do some math. About 15 years.
Okay, so 15 years ago, you were, I'm gonna date Jared a little bit, late 20s,
No.
early 30s. Yeah. Young, I would say.
Ish.
But I don't know if you've asked this of yourself in a while, but what do you remember brought you to hiring that person?
I do remember this because I had gotten my first job.
Okay.
I started a little later, it was like my late 20s.
Yep.
I was an independent contractor, so we didn't have benefits packages or retirement, and I knew I needed to start one.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a little bit of debt. I was absolutely just lost.
Yeah.
I know what I needed to do. I didn't have the bandwidth. My life was so crazy that I'm like, I can't do this. So when I met with somebody who was a friend that I trusted, we started to do this, and I just remember talking and being like, here's what I got.
Yeah.
Here's what I want. And he went through my life. We figured out a good plan. We got out of debt first.
Smart.
And I told him, like, I don't know anything about this. I don't want to have to look at newspapers. Dating me. I don't want to have to look at any stocks or worry about when recessions hit.
Yeah.
For me,
You're offloading the work for something really important in your and Amy's life to someone else.
I did.
Okay.
I was out of my depth and I knew it.
And I asked, so I asked that question of Jared, and we all can relate to this, right? So I felt today we'd talk about this because I'm aware that probably in the past 10 years, the do-it-yourself situation has become immensely more like simple and easy for people to do. Would you agree?
All culture now is DIY, YouTube, learn how to do it yourself.
And look, again, I understand this can come from a biased position, so I'm disclosing this out of the gate here, right? But learning how to make a table with woodworking on YouTube is different than a do-it-yourself learning how to invest. And I'll tell you this why, and this is from experience. What we do as financial advisors cannot be put into a simple box. And it's also an art, not a science. So over the next few minutes, I'm going to take both a quantifiable position on this, as well as an unquantifiable position on this. Now, I want to talk about the unquantifiable first. I've noticed in doing it as long as I have, the younger generation almost has this notion like we can do it ourselves through the apps, they make it really easy for us, but we're missing the boat on some of the things that is so valuable that I want to share. One of them is peace of mind. Like when you're by yourself and you're making a stock trade or you're investing in an IRA or setting up a Roth IRA through maybe an app or some sort of platform, you're doing it yourself, which means when you look in the mirror, that's your advisor. Right? Now, let me say something loud and clear. I've been an advisor for 2 decades. My wife, Veronica, and I, our 401k, our investment assets, everything is managed here at my firm, One Capital, buy a portfolio manager in-house, the same portfolio manager that works with all of my clients.
Now to me, that's not strange, but how do I put this? I would think if you're a financial advisor, you have that experience, you have that faith in yourself, you would do that yourself.
There's two reasons I do.
But you trust somebody else.
I do, and here's why, and I want to be open with you guys about this. So even a professional, right? Like, so take your point. I'm pretty sure I know what I'm doing. I mean, I like to think so at least, but let's just go with it. But I'm still a human being just like you. So in March of 2020, when the pandemic is happening, everything's going to hell in a handbasket, I'm not going to sit and lie to someone saying, as a human, a citizen in this world, in this country, that I'm going to react differently than you would. The thing I bring up to all my clients is I'm also a big believer of doing what I preach. So why wouldn't I do the same thing? I know what a unbiased, third-party, objective opinion can bring.
I believe him, yo. I don't know why, but I do.
It's like any kind of advice. I'm really good at giving advice.
Everyone is, right?
So wise, listen to me.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to my own life and I'm freaking out, I never be like, okay, Jared, what's good advice for myself?
Exactly.
I don't listen to myself.
It's the same way. So right out of the gate, I just want you all to hear that. Like, even, it's just important. And I'm not saying you can't do it, but here's the thing. What helps you is to have someone in your corner. Just knowing that you can find a trustworthy fiduciary advisor who's done this. This is their profession. That's huge. The been there, done that also helps. The experience helps. As well as, like, that's their job every day as an advisor, to help you. So those are some of the unquantifiable items out there. All right, so I want to go into the meat of this here because there's a study that I came across that's been around for many, many years now. It's actually the Vanguard Alpha study, a numerical-based system that actually put a percentage value add as it relates to your earnings.
So this is where we really get to see.
So listen up. If you were bored from the last 5 minutes, listen now.
Where your dollars and cents are going.
Exactly.
Tell me literally everything. Everyone, shut up!
There's 3 legs to this stool that I always show people when it comes to advising. So the first one, the easy one, let's knock it out of the gate here. Portfolio management. This is actually the investment management approach to diversify your portfolio, set your allocation, which is like your equities versus bonds and fixed income, how aggressive or conservative or moderate or balanced, or all the adjectives that they use. That's the portfolio management. The study has actually shown that working with an advisor versus those not working with an advisor, portfolio management alone, that one leg of that stool, can add 1.2% over the lifetime of working with that advisor to your assets.
Now, to clarify something for me, when you're talking about portfolio management, this is literally picking, like if mutual funds or who stocks or what it is, like we're picking that, we're selling that, we're buying this.
I mean, it is investment selection, stock selection, allocation. That's all really important, don't get me wrong. But it's actually more the managing what you're doing. I'm getting nervous, I want to move to cash or change my allocation because something's going on. That's actually where the value is being added. If you're managing on your own, it's like, I'm going to move this stock over because of this report or that report. And it's the moving around that can kind of mess up with the individuals, the investors that are not working with an advisor. So portfolio management adds 1.2% through a study to help you manage your portfolio. The second leg of the stool is behavioral coaching. Now, the way they use the word behavioral coaching, I actually kind of just use more as like your accountability partner, right? This is walking you through making sure that because remember, a client who works with an advisor, you're in the driver's seat. But if you want to go down a road, you want someone there with you saying, I've been down that road, here's what's going on. Not to say yes or no, that's a key point of the advisor. I'm not ever with my clients going to tell you what to spend on, what not to spend on. That's not my position. But I will help you with what you've hired us to do, which is making sure that you have goals in mind. I want to have X amount when I retire. I need this amount of money in retirement. Those all come into the decision point when you're having a phone call saying, hey, I'm thinking about buying a new car. Okay, how does this play into your plan?
So this kind of walks really hand in hand and parallel with some of those non-tangible peace of mind parts. So this kind of touches on that.
This part is definitely the leg of the stool of the unquantifiable position.
Gotcha.
And through this study, it's basically making sure you don't overreact. You don't overreact to volatility in markets. You don't overreact to overspending or something going on in your personal life, those kind of things. That's an accountability partner. So behavioral coaching, this leg of the stool, this Vanguard study actually showed that it adds 1.5% on its own.
Considerable amount.
Considerable amount. The last piece of this leg is interesting too. This is the advanced planning. Now, I look at that as your future stuff. This is the things that come with a financial advisor they can help you with. Estate plans, insurance policies, tax planning, not filing your taxes per se, but understanding how taxes impact you now in your investments as well as later. So advanced planning, asset protection is also in there. I mean, there's a whole host of things, right? That area from this study is actually shown to add 1% to your overall investment returns. So you add those things up, it's like 3.7%. I think what gets people is like, wow, I'm gonna pay. To them, it's like, I'm gonna pay so much more money over time. I'm like, but yes, but you're getting more alpha. You're actually getting more performance out of it.
Clearly see this is saying that you're spending money to make more money. Not to lose, you're not losing that money, you're making more money with it.
And I would like to, if I had my way, I would like to switch the term from cost to investment.
Sure.
You're oh, what's going to cost me? Well, what do you invest? You know what I mean? It's like, actually, well, it's kind of an investment in yourself, in your future, in your family structure. So let's talk about cost for a second. Because we talked about value of an advisor, talked about the unquantifiable items, the peace of mind, the accountability partner, right? Even the quantifiable stuff, actually adding 3.7% from this study into value, okay? What are you paying for when you hire an advisor? This is what I educate my clients on, and I want to share with you all. There are two things that you're paying for when it comes to financial advising. And no one breaks this down, because if you Google it right now, it's like, oh, the average fee is 1% or this, that, and the other. That's the advisor's fee, just the person. So of the two things, you're paying for the person, the fiduciary, the credentials, the experience, the person, the trust, like that's one half of the fee. The other half of the fee, surprise everybody, it costs money to manage money. Expense ratios that are in ETFs or mutual funds, or platform fees for other separate managed account platforms.
It's very similar to me, like when you're saying that. I just got went to the doctor. You pay for the doctor visit for their time. Mm-hmm. You're also paying for like the tools and things they do, the operation cost of that operation and things like that. So it's very similar. Like we don't bat an eye at that, but then we think advisor fees and this, and we're like, oh wait, what?
There's a whole thing there. I'm not going to go into huge in depth on that one, but the advisor's fee is one part of it. That's the experience, the fiduciary nature, the credentials, all the stuff I mentioned. And then the portfolio fee, or the management of the assets fee. It's important to know that. So friends, am I saying a financial advisor should be for everybody? No. Look, I'm aware that you might have experience. You might be that robot person who just doesn't get emotional about investing. You might have super discipline where there's no overspending ever. Like, fine. But for the majority of people, ironically, in that study I mentioned, only 25 to 35% actually use a financial advisor. The majority of people don't, and I'll say this, in as many people as I've met and over the thousands of clients that we serve here at One Capital, it's astonishing to me because most people actually should have an advisor for even just the unquantifiable reasons. Just the peace of mind. You might think you're doing everything right, and you might, on paper, it looks really good, but are you sleeping at night? Are you freaking out? Is it always on your mind? Are you losing time with your family because you're looking at the stock market or figuring out what to do and reading white pages on white pages and Reddit forums? You know what I mean?
Yeah, getting ulcers.
Ulcers and like, you know what I mean? Your cortisol levels is just like pinged to the max at all times.
Yeah.
So again, this is for you to decide, but I just really feel like it's important that we bring this up. Like there's an old saying, right? Partner to your weaknesses. Okay, we all have strengths. Honor those, work with those, but partner to your weaknesses. Now you have to really admit your weaknesses. I think a lot of times that people struggle with that. Like I'll be honest with you. One of the things I've noticed in my financial advising practice is, and I don't mean any disrespect here, but doctors and engineers are usually the toughest clients to work with because they're so smart. But they're so smart in one area. But I feel like, and I've had many of them who I'm really close with tell me this, they're like, I just feel like I should know this. I'm like, but really think about this. When you were in high school or college, did anyone ever actually walk you through what a mortgage was? Like truly walk you through compound interest, or how dividends work, or rebalancing, or even modern portfolio theory in general?
Even for me, not even what a checking account was. So.
Yeah. Like I was lucky I had a grandfather who was military, and he basically just told me how to write a check. That was basically my extent of my financial acumen, which by the way, we're gonna cover that as well, how to talk with your kids about money, because I'm a big believer in that. We'll have that on the show, so stay tuned for that one. But we have to remember that, like, have some humility with yourself. Like, dude, it's okay. Personal finance, as easy as like all these advertisements want to make it to be, and I'm speaking to the young kids out here in particular, right? It's not easy. Like these platforms make it seem, oh, just track all your cards and these platforms just put it into what you're spending here and there. Well, every time you see a big red mark, that means you overspent. Well, wait a minute, I thought I was supposed to track it. Yeah, it's not going to stop you from spending it.
From a civilian standpoint,
Yeah.
not a financial advising standpoint, for me, it was an absolute game changer.
Yeah.
It was one less thing. It was somebody that I could trust and be like, hey, they check in with me. I can see making more money. I tell everybody, like, just do it. Like, go to the professional to do the work they're trained to do.
Like anything, right?
Yeah.
Partner to your weaknesses. And again, if you don't think finance is a weakness for you, that's fine. But really honor that and make sure it's right for you and your family and what works for you. When you said that, it reminded me of Forrest Gump, right? You don't have to worry about money anymore. Yeah. That's good.
That's good.
One less thing.
One less thing, yeah. I love that.
Hey guys, I appreciate you guys all listening in today. I hope you enjoyed today's show. We're very excited each and every week to bring this to you. Thank you to our subscribers who watch every week. If you're new to our channel, welcome, and we're excited to go on this journey together, talk about everything from the psychology of money to money itself. And next week, I think we're talking about...
If I inherit $1 million, what do I do with it?
Ooh, I like that one.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic.
Good. We're going to talk about that one. So I'm excited about that. Stay tuned for next week. But until next time, always remember, if you lead with love, it's going to be okay. See you guys.
My man, we go. It's time to go. Let's take this thing higher. Woo! Let's take this thing. No stop. It's time to go.